We are going live now. Let's get this moving. All right, we are now live. Hey, players, welcome to another episode here, another live stream actually. For those of you that are new here, my name is Josh. Every single week, I make videos sharing tips, ideas, and stories, teaching you how to be your best self. And in this live stream, I'm going to be sharing some of the worst advice a guy can ever receive and can ever get from someone if they're super stressed out. A lot of times when people are nervous or anxious or scared, people tend to give this type of advice, which I think is not helpful at all and is actually hurtful. It hurts our ego, it hurts our psyche, it hurts our mental health. So I want to walk through some of the problems with the way that people speak and some of the ways that people think they're being encouraging when they're actually not. So before I do that, though, I want to give shout outs to all the early birds here in the chat. These are the people that are in here right from the get-go. You guys are the first ones on board. If you're someone that's in the live stream, in the chat right now, definitely jump into the chat right now. Just say hi. I'll give you a shout out. I love shouting out the early birds. Let's see who we got here in the stream. Okay, hold on. All right, let's see who we got. Austin is in here. Sam Leach is in here. Raymond Porch says, yo, yo, yo. Good to see you, Raymond. Music Man, Anthony Medellin, Yaz on TV, Red Lightning, RB, always a pleasure to have you, man. Haley Davidson, Haley, how you doing? Hamish, always a pleasure to have you as well. A Pizza with 1,000 subscribers. David Bowles, Yancey Cobian, Yancey, happy to have you, man. Alexander Cole, Trenton Tharp, Trailblazers in here. NS Fans, Stuart Douglas, good to see you, Stuart. Natalie J, Roman O'Brien, Benjamin Contreras, Austin, Melvin, the Movie Raider, Nigel Williams. Nigel, always a pleasure to have you. Amden Asef. Amden Asefa. Maybe I said that incorrectly, but hopefully I didn't. Zuchan, I think. Maybe the two X's is Z. Emmanuel Pimentel. David Bowles, David Degenhart, good to see you. 300 subscribers without a video challenge. I hope you hit 300 subs. Let's see who we got. Audrey Connolly, Forrest Vernier, Nathan A. Happy to have all of you guys in this live stream. I think this is going to be an important one because if you saw my video on Tuesday, I talked a lot about kind of the pressures that guys face to be muscular. You know, this constant battle we see in the media, in society around us, to constantly get big. That if you're not big and you're scrawny looking, then you're not man enough. Or if you are a guy who's a little bit overweight, then you're also not living up to your full potential. You're not doing the best that you can. And I think these things can be kind of problematic. And I think that what I notice a lot that tends to happen is that people get very binary with these type of things. There's a right and there's a wrong. And we don't really ever take time to hear each other out, to really listen to the other person's perspective, to see what their challenges are, their struggles are, and to see what ultimately they want. So we spend a lot of time projecting what we feel and what we want and what we think rather than listening. So in this live stream, I want to talk a lot about the power of listening and really how that's helpful here. Thank you guys all for being in here. Now, if you have a burning question, this is something that is on your mind that you need my opinion on, you just want to know what I think about something going on in your life, or you want to just give support, you can always use the super chat function there. That's the little dollar sign that pops up there as you're typing in the chat. You could donate $1, $2, $5, whatever it is. Your question will pop up front and center. I will stop what I'm talking about and I will answer your question. I give super priority to super chats. So if you have something on your mind that you want to share, make sure to use that super chat function. Now, what I also want to say, let's see if this pops up. Yeah, also, if you haven't already, hit the thumbs up button. Every time I try to put this up, it just messes up. But hit the thumbs up button if you haven't already on this stream. Let's try to get the amount of thumbs up equal to the amount of people watching currently right now. Let's see if we can actually make that happen, guys. Hit the thumbs up if you haven't already. So let's jump into the first point here. Let's jump into what we're kind of tackling because I think it's going to make a huge difference. Now, when I talk about this being the worst advice, what I'm essentially saying is this, that a lot of times we grow up conditioned based on how our parents raised us, how the people around us taught us to do things, what we saw on TV. And what you tend to see a lot in male culture, in American male culture, in lots of different cultures, but American male culture is this proclivity, this desire to kind of be the strong, silent type, to not have any weaknesses, to not show any emotion, to not be tied down by things that might stop you from going after your goal and reaching your path. And I think that that's not a very realistic way to look at life. You know, we kind of go through life feeling like men who are stoic, who are unshakable, who have it all figured out, who are silent and don't ask questions, are the ones who kind of have it all together. And I think that's actually a false image that we've created. It's this idea that we think is the ultimate representation of a male, but I would challenge back. And I think what tends to happen is that when people aspire to that kind of representation, when they try to be that image of this perfect, strong, silent type male, they end up actually neglecting their own feelings, but actually teaching others to neglect theirs as well. Now, I want to do a chat poll before I get into the first point here. I want to get your guys' opinion on this. Have you ever felt like, and we'll do a yes or no question. So if you're watching right now, type into the chat yes or no the answer to the question, your answer to the question. Have you ever felt like you were scared to share how you felt about something because you thought you would get made fun of, or it would be belittled, or people will tell you that it's not that big of a deal? You just felt like people wouldn't take it seriously and just downplay it. Have you ever felt like you didn't share something or didn't want to share something because of that fear? I know I have in the past so many times where, I had this fear of like, oh, well, if I talked about how I felt or I expressed concern about something, people would think I'm nagging, or people would think I'm a baby. People would think I'm like not man enough and all these different things. I want to know your guys' answer. But first, I want to jump in and say thank you, Hamish, for the £5 super chat. It should be popping up. Any second now. But I'm going to read it here in the chat. Hamish, it should come up in a second, guys. But Hamish said, "Hi, Josh. I just lost a friend today because he was being bullied. He killed himself today and was pronounced dead in the hospital a few minutes ago." Hamish, I am so incredibly sorry to hear that. I think that it's so hard to lose someone that you care about, and to know that someone you cared about passed away because they were being bullied, and that led them to want to kill themselves. That led them to a point of suicide. It's so incredibly sad and scary that we live in this type of world where people have no remorse or consequences, and they don't understand the consequences of their actions. Hamish, I'm so incredibly sorry. Everyone here in the live stream, offer your condolences to Hamish, because it's so incredibly hard to lose someone like that. And oh man, that's hard to hear that news just a few minutes ago. Hamish, I hope that the things I talk about on the stream can be helpful, because I do think that they are related here. I think that a big reason why people bully others is because they're trying to gain some sense of power. They're trying to feel like they have some control in their lives. And by putting others down, by attacking them, by making fun of them, by bullying them, they feel powerful. And it's a false sense of power, right? It's not a real sense of power. Real power comes from lifting people up, from being a person people can turn to, from being someone that inspires. I'll talk more about that type of real power later on, but Hamish, I am so incredibly sorry. Thank you for the £5 super chat, Hamish. And like I said, my condolences go out to you. If you ever need to talk, you can always shoot me a DM, Hamish, and I'll be there for you, man. I'm so sorry to hear that. I asked you guys, have you ever been in a situation where you felt like you didn't want to share something because you felt like people would downplay it or belittle it or tell you it's not important? Here's what you guys had to say. I'm seeing an overwhelming yes. Red Lightning says yes. Dave Video says, oh yeah. David says yeah. Dustin Down says yeah. VX King says yeah. Emmanuel says sometimes. Yes. Hamish says, I'm crying so much. Hamish, I'm so sorry to hear what happened. Haley says, don't hold yourself and your opinions back because of unrealistic expectations. That's a really, really good point. Benjamin says yes. Sam Lee says 100% too often. Jalen says yes so much. I'm seeing yes. Everyone's wishing their condolences to you, Hamish. Hamish, you're not alone. You have a wonderful community here that supports you and cares about you. And that goes out to everyone here too. If you feel like you're being bullied or you're alone, and you don't have someone to turn to and someone to talk to, I'll just pull it up here because I feel like it's important. We have a Discord community. This is our Josh Speaks community, and it's a place where we're really trying to make it a caring, open, and honest and fun place to be. So if you're looking for a place where you can talk about your feelings, talk about what's going on in your life, ask questions, and just get feedback from people just like you, young people just like you that are trying to figure life out, this is a great place to be. I jump in there every so often and engage in conversations and hear what you guys have to say. I spend a lot of time reading and just hearing and learning from a lot of your experiences. So if you're looking for a place to kind of share what's going on in your life, that's definitely the place to check out. The reason why I asked you guys that question, ambulance going by. The reason why I asked you guys hey, have you ever been too fearful to share something, is because far too often people say phrases like this. They say phrases like these, rather. That is sirens in the background. Every so often there's ambulances, police, and stuff. They're just going down like the main avenue street that's here. People say phrases like this: toughen up, deal with it, be a man, don't be a wuss. And I think the reason why they jump to phrases like this is because they, one, expect you to kind of just have it all figured out. You should know what to do. You shouldn't be emotional. You shouldn't be weak. Just the idea of toughen up, right? The idea of toughen up is like, hey, listen, if something's bringing you down, if something's hurting you, just toughen up, be stronger. And I think what ends up happening a lot is that people hear a lot of these phrases. People hear a lot of these phrases growing up, and it has such a negative effect, such a negative long-term effect. And I want to walk you through how that actually is. How hearing a phrase like, just be a man, deal with it, don't be a wuss, toughen up, how hearing these phrases can actually hurt your development. So let's say you're a young kid. Let's say you are a young enough kid, and something happens to you. Maybe you encounter a situation where you're scared or nervous or afraid. Maybe you broke something in your house. Maybe you failed a test. Maybe you did something stupid and your parents are going to find out about it. There's this idea that, hey, instead of feeling sad or scared or hurt or angry or any of these emotions, just toughen up. Meaning, put your feelings aside. Don't deal with them. Don't address them. In fact, don't even experience them. This is the kind of advice that people tend to give to young people. If you fall and you start crying, it's like, toughen up, be a man, stop doing that. And I think that when you start to hear that type of phrasing when you're growing up, when you start to hear people say things like that, what you start to do is realize, whoa, like if I share how I'm feeling, then this person's just going to kind of neglect my experience. They're not going to acknowledge it. They're going to kind of actually downplay it. By saying something like, just be a man, it really is an empty phrase. And I think all of those end up being empty phrases because what a person's telling you essentially to do is stop sharing your feelings. Stop talking about what's going on inside because it's either making them uncomfortable, it's putting them in a position where they need to be vulnerable and address it, or it's putting them in a position where they realize they don't know what to do and they don't like that. So by telling you just toughen up, it's shifting away from taking any responsibility and helping, and it's making you just feel like you need to deal with it on your own. And I think when you start to hear this growing up, you start to hear these type of phrases over and over and over, you start to realize, whoa, I can't open up to my dad. I can't open up to my mom. I can't open up to my friends because when they tell me things like this, they're going to dismiss it. They're going to downplay it. They're going to make it seem like I'm the crazy one. Like I'm weird for having emotions. It's wrong for me to feel something here in this moment. Now, one of the things I always hear people say when I start to share these points or talk on it is there's always a counter, and the counter ends up being, yeah, but if you're overreacting, if you are crying about something silly or small, like you just need to learn to get over it, and I think that there's some level of truth to that. But I think that the reality is this, it's that as people encounter different types of situations, both big and small, the consistent thing to help you get through it is that you have someone that's there to hear you out, that cares about what you have to say, and will support you in figuring out that decision. And that's very, very different from, let's say you got rejected and you're going to whine and cry about it. Like someone might say, just get over it, right? But the truth is, it's like telling you to get over it doesn't actually help you get over it. In fact, I'll ask you guys here, we'll do a chat poll. Has someone ever told you the piece of advice, just get over it? And has that ever worked for you? For me, no, it's never worked. When someone says, just get over it, that doesn't help. That's not helpful advice. But we give these kind of one word or two word type of answers to essentially dismiss what's going on. And I think that, I'm just reading through what's happening here, guys. Yeah, and I think what really ultimately happens is that like we just start to become numb in wanting to share things with other people. We feel like no one's going to listen to us. No one cares. We feel like what we have doesn't matter. What we have to say doesn't matter. But And I asked you guys this before I jump into that next piece of that first point. It's this. It's that I'm seeing no's, meaning like, people who have shared that advice to you, it's not helpful. When people say just get over it, this is not helpful advice. And I think the chat here is kind of speaking for itself. And that's why I wanted to say, guys, come on. That's why I wanted to say, this is kind of the first reason that stems from it, guys. Your feelings often get minimized. When someone kind of tells you, get over it, be a man, like it's not that big of a deal. When people tell you these things, yeah, guys, and the advice even still works for girls. I geared this towards in the title and stuff towards guys because I'm going to talk more about like masculinity and those things. But Haley makes a really good point. Even as a chica, all the time they blame it on us being hormonal, never helps. Yeah, Haley, I have a video planned on that. How a lot of guys don't understand how hormones work. A lot of guys don't understand how like the female body works hormonally during the month or what's going on. So they tend to blame things and say these kind of generic blanket statements like, oh, she's on her period. Oh, she's crazy. Oh, she's this. And guys kind of fall into that trap a lot because they're not educated and knowledgeable in that. So I'm going to do a video in the future teaching about that so people can be a little bit more aware and be more mindful of what they say. But, when someone kind of brushes off how you feel, they're minimizing your feelings. They're making it seem like what you have to say doesn't matter. And what I want to say in counter to that is this, guys, is that your feelings are mentionable and manageable. When I say your feelings are mentionable and manageable, what I mean is this, guys, that what you have to say about what you feel matters, right? It is important for you to talk about what's on your mind, right? Look at Hamish's situation with his friend. It's like, his friend was being bullied, and it's like when a person's being bullied like that, they may feel like they're alone. They may feel like what they're dealing with is never going to end. They may feel like no one understands them, and a lot of times they may keep their feelings to themselves. So recognizing that your feelings are mentionable and manageable is incredibly important here, guys. Knowing that you can share how you feel is going to be a key piece in understanding how you feel, right? Because if you are nervous about something, or you are anxious, or you feel insecure, in order to understand those feelings, you need to first be able to talk about them. And the manageable part is to recognize that however you may feel, there is a way to kind of find a way through that, to find a way to kind of disconnect from your feelings. I shared on Instagram in the morning. For any of you guys who are not following me over on Instagram, you should definitely follow me on Instagram. Every morning I kind of share a little morning meditation. I use the app Calm, and the meditation for today really focused on being aware of your feelings and recognizing that you are not your feelings. Your feelings are things that arise in your body, but you are more than your feelings. So it's important sometimes when you feel a certain way to be a casual observer, to stand back and say, I'm feeling this way right now. Not I am this way right now. So you may want to say, I am feeling insecure right now, not I'm insecure. Because when you are your feelings, it's hard to kind of take an outside look at them. So I want you guys to kind of really think about that deeply, that your feelings are mentionable and manageable. And then when people kind of use a lot of these phrases, be a man, toughen up, deal with it, they're essentially bringing down kind of your desire to want to share. And, the question could end up being, well, what do I do if the people around me are the ones who do that? Well, we're going to dive a little bit more into that, but I want to jump into the chat and hear what you guys have to say. If you guys have any stories or feedback or experiences, jump into the chat right now and share them. I'm going to kind of walk through some of the things you guys are talking about. Natalie J says, I think it's a problem in America that half of what is said is not meant. That is not the way in Germany and many other countries where people are more genuine and blunt in conversation. Interesting. A Rage Master says, please, if you have thoughts of suicide or you have friends and family or a loved one having thoughts of suicide, please call the National Suicide Prevention Hotline. Yes, Rage Master, I think that's super important. Guys, if you're feeling suicidal or down or you just need someone to talk to, that is the perfect line to call. Let's see. Zealot Patriot says, the type of advice that you give depends on the type of struggle someone is going through, and sometimes no advice is the best choice. Absolutely, Zealot. I think you make a really, really good point. A lot of times we feel the need to want to share our opinions, and we don't spend enough time listening, right? We don't spend enough time asking, hey, how are you feeling? Hey, is everything okay? Is there anything I can do to help you? But instead we say, what's wrong? Just, you could do something about it. What can you do about it? Like, we kind of get stuck on trying to make that person just get over it, rather than just being there with them and showing them that they're not alone, that there is someone they can open up to and someone that they can talk to. Hamish says, I'm pissed off. I love the people who are supporting me, but why do some people think I'm lying? Guys, I mean, Hamish is a valued member of this community. He's in all the live streams. He shares what's going on in his life. That's not something he or anyone that I know in this live stream would make up, guys. Come on. Sam Leach says, telling someone to get over it is like telling someone with a broken leg to just walk it off. Exactly, Sam. Exactly. And people do that all the time, right? Oh, just get over it. And it's like, that's the most useless piece of advice ever. Yancey says, hey, Josh, what do I do when Kendall asked me, did I burp? And I felt so embarrassed and awkward after that. Yancey, I hear you on that. It could be awkward and embarrassing when something like that happens. You burp or you fart or something like that happens. I think the best thing for you to do is to recognize that you're human. These type of things sometimes happen, and to try your best to kind of recognize that that's just a moment that is temporary, that in the future you can try to talk to, what did you say her name is? Kendall. And the more you communicate with her, probably the more she'll start to say, okay, Yancey's cool. I'm not going to make fun of him because of that thing that happened. A lot of these type of things happen in school, embarrassing moments, situations like that. It happens. Don't beat yourself up too much about it. I know that it's easy to feel embarrassed and it's easy to get pulled into that, but I'm here for you, Yancey. I want you to know that. Darkest Night says, just be confident, bro. Work for me, says the 6 foot tall Chad. Yeah, Darkest Night, you make a really good point. Just be confident is useless advice because we're not taking time to listen to what the other person has to say. Dave Video says, yeah, Dr. Nerdlove mentioned something like that. Separate your feelings from who you are to what you do, especially when it comes to crushes. Exactly. Darkest Night says, I have suicidal thoughts all the time, and I've heard people who call the hotline don't even care. Oh, so you're saying people on the hotline don't even care? I can't speak for everyone on the hotline, but I know lots of people that have called it and that it has been helpful. So I would just recommend trying it out for yourself, Darkest Night. A lot of times there's a lot of hearsay. People say, oh, I heard this. Sometimes you just have to try things for yourself and see. Darkest Night says, just man up, bro. Yeah, and I think that's part of the problem there. Bean says, I have a friend who committed suicide. I think she was depressed. I'm so sorry for your loss, Hamish. Yep, Emma, good to have you in here. Guys, I want to move into the next point here, but ultimately, like I said, if we're growing up hearing a lot of these negative comments where people are not taking the time to hear us out and be there for us, and they're just downplaying what we're saying, it's going to affect our development. We're going to start to become jaded. We're going to start to feel like there's no one we can open up to, no one we can share things with, and that can become a major, major problem. Andrew, thank you so much for the $2 super chat. I truly appreciate it. I hope what we're talking about here is helpful in some way. And if you have any questions, feel free to drop it in the chat, and I will do my best to answer it. Hey, Tom Norton, are you the person on Instagram who's always saying, what's your game? So as we keep moving forward, guys, what tends to happen from there? Well, if someone tells you, hey, just get over it, toughen up, all these things, you could start to develop a pattern and a lifestyle and a mindset that it's not worth sharing your feelings. No one cares. And when you feel like no one cares about how you feel, that can kind of lead to this. You start to bury your feelings and act out. This is something I see happen a lot. A lot of times when people have parents that don't really listen to them, don't really care about them, don't really pay attention to them. They don't take the time to understand what's going on in your life, or they don't take the time to really hear you out and know what you're struggling with. You start to bury your feelings, right? You start to feel like I'm in this dark world alone. No one understands me. No one cares about me, and there's nothing I can do about it. And when you get to that place, you start to act out. You start to maybe harm yourself. You start to lash out against others. Maybe you yell and fight with people. Maybe you get into school fights. You start to turn to things like drugs and alcohol and other bad vices that might start bringing you down a bad path. When you feel like you have no one in your corner and no one there to listen to you, You bury those feelings and you really start heading down a path that's not going to be helpful. And I've seen so many people struggle with it, guys. I've seen so many people really deal with feeling alone and not knowing what to do. And I think that when you are in a place like that, where you do feel alone after so many years of just kind of dealing with that struggle of no one caring about you, no one listening to you, what tends to happen is this. You start to move into a place where resilience is the only option through, right? When you're at that point in your life where you feel like no one cares about me, no one listens to me, it's very easy to start getting sucked into communities or sucked into environments that kind of reaffirm your negative bias. And I truly believe that resilience is built through learning how to cope, right? So what is resilience? What does it mean to be resilient here? Well, I think in order to be resilient, it means that you discover and recognize that the situation that you're in life is something manageable, right? You recognize that you don't have to kind of suffer at the mercy of others. You can take control, but part of taking control is first recognizing what's going on and how you feel about it, right? So let's say you're getting bullied in school. Let's say someone's making fun of you, calling you names. Let's say someone's going on your Instagram live streams and constantly saying, "What's your game? What's your game?" Let's say it's something that they're doing. Let's say that's something that's happening where someone's just kind of bullying you all the time, and you feel like you have no one to talk to about it. Well, in order to build resilience, it's important to recognize, why is that person bullying me? Like, what is their game? Why are they doing it? What's going on here? Maybe that person is being bullied themselves. Maybe that person is insecure. Maybe they're dealing with struggles at home, or maybe they don't have friends. Maybe they're trying to impress their friends. There could be a million reasons why they're doing it. And to build resiliency is to recognize that what someone brings to your door, you don't have to accept. Just because someone hands you a gift, if it's not something you want, you don't have to take it. So if someone is being mean to you, if someone's bullying you, instead of lashing out at them and yelling at them and fighting with them because you want them to stop, you can actually take a better chess move and realize, if I don't feed into what they're doing, then they're not going to gain anything from it. They're probably going to get bored and they're probably going to stop. So, if you don't feed into it, if you don't play into their game, then they're going to see that their game isn't working. And building resilience is really, really recognizing that you bring value to the table, that what you have to say matters, and that other people don't get to decide how you choose to live your life. So if you're in a place where you are lashing out, what is going on with I want to destroy generic lifts? What is going? I want to destroy generic lists. What's going on, man? Guys, come on. We're trying to have a civil chat here. But like I said, I want to do a chat poll here, guys. I want to ask you guys this question. Is that ravage? I want to get your opinion on this, guys. When someone is pressuring you or bullying you or making fun of you or teasing you or just coming down on you in a way that you don't like, they're just being mean to you, do you feel like you are good and capable of managing those situations? Or do you feel like it's very easy for you to lash out, to get upset, to yell back, to fight? Do you feel like you have control over your emotions, or do you feel like you don't? I'm curious to hear what you guys have to say. Thanks, Anthony. I appreciate it, man. Where do you guys kind of stand in that sense? Because I know that people who grow up feeling like they don't have someone they could talk to, they feel like people just downplay what they say, do tend to have a harder time controlling their emotions and handling how they feel. They struggle with that a lot because they never saw it as a demonstration. They never observed it growing up. And I think that's a real struggle for a lot of people. But I want to hear what you guys have to say. Melvin says, "No, I get angry so quickly." Melvin, I want to hear more about that. Why do you feel you get angry? Do you feel like you don't have control over the situation, or do you feel like it just gets under your skin and you can't help yourself? Lily Anonymous says, "I just continue bullying myself to add on when people make fun of me because I take everything as a joke and I would like to think I'm a class clown. but I still feel bad about myself. Lily, I hear where you're coming from on that. I think part of the reason why people may do that, where they may belittle themselves, is because they don't feel like they have any worth. And if they come down on themselves, it means you don't really have to look at what you bring to the table. There's a fear of, you might feel like you're not good enough, like you're not worthy of care and love and kindness. So by beating yourself up, it's almost like saying, yeah, it's true, I'm not deserving of these things. But I want you, Lily, to realize that you are. You are deserving of love and care and kindness, and you don't have to make fun of yourself or belittle yourself just for others to kind of accept you. Let's see. Dr. Lavarch says, I think focusing on feelings only aggravates them. I personally believe channeling attention into passions helps more with coping. Yeah, I understand what you're saying there. You're saying, I think focusing on feelings only aggravates them. Oh, okay. I guess you're saying with the bullies and stuff, perhaps. Yeah, I think that when bullies see that they're getting under your skin, they're going to double down. So if you can find a way to kind of be stoic in the moment, and when I say be stoic, what I ultimately mean is to recognize that you're not your feelings there, and to kind of be that casual observer. That's what I mean by stoicism. It's an observation rather than like nothing bothers me. It's more of an observation. So if you are feeling hurt by what they're saying, recognizing and saying, I feel hurt by what they say, rather than just feeling hurt and not being aware of it. Raymond says, I'm in the middle. Let's see. Jump through, I'm just reading. Dr. Lavarch says, I have control. Abunga says, I'm terrible in those situations. Yeah, guys, I definitely want to create more content. Sam Lee says, I'm a very emotional person. I have trouble dealing with pressuring situations. Yeah, so from what I'm reading, guys, I would really, really love to, I want to make more videos on how you can kind of manage your emotions, how you can kind of take more control with your own life. Part of that is meditation and breathing exercises and having hobbies and interests. That's partly why I'm developing my kind of 30-day course that's going to come out soon, which is going to kind of walk you through how to take control of little parts of your life so that you feel like you have a direction you're heading in. Thank you again, Hamish, for the £2 super chat. Hamish said, Josh, can we talk on the after party about this? Absolutely, Hamish. I'll bring you on the after party. We could definitely talk about this, man. I know it's a real tough time for you, man, so I'm going to be there for you to help you out. Thank you again for the £2 super chat. Okay, so as I was saying, guys, resilience is built through learning how to cope. As you learn to deal with the tough situations in life, you'll build resilience. And the way that you kind of build that and the way that you learn to deal with those tough situations is by having people you could turn to, people you can open up to, people that support you and care about you and want to see you succeed. That's how you kind of really, really start to move forward. So a strong support system might look like friends or family members, a therapist, or a community like we have, an online community. I think that it's hard to relearn strategies for how to deal with situations once they've kind of become ingrained in your life. So you've always dealt with it this way, so it's kind of hard for you to kind of unlearn that and learn something new. But I think that we can practice by observing how something makes us feel and think about what we want to do with those feelings, right? So part of that might be participating in meditation, like I mentioned, and I definitely would love to do more meditations with you guys because I think that'll be helpful. Darkest Night says, if you take the black pill, you see nothing. If you take the black pill, you see nothing. It's true around you. Nothing is pure. Nothing lasts forever. That's a real black pill. So Darkest Night, I would highly, highly recommend. There's a book that I think you would love, and I honestly think you should definitely read it. It's called Man's Search for Meaning by Viktor Frankl. And I'm going to type it in the chat because I think it's that important. Man's Search for Meaning. Viktor Frankl was a Holocaust survivor, right? He survived a concentration camp, and he talked a lot in that book about people that he saw in the concentration camps that died, that just kind of gave up on life because they felt like there was no way out. They felt like how can we ever escape this horrible, horrible tragedy of a situation? And they ended up dying from the willpower just being depleted from their bodies. And Viktor Frankl also saw people in the concentration camp who realize that despite these hardships, despite the evil that's going on around us, there is still something to live for. Maybe it's children on the outside. Maybe it's a wife or a husband or a brother or sister or whatever it may be. Maybe it's wanting to live because you want to be able to tell the story of what's going on. Having a sense of meaning, right? We can look at everything in this world as it's either just chaos or it's a miracle, right? We can look at it like there's nothing to look forward to, there's nothing to be happy about, or we can look at it like, wow, being alive, just being here, being present is an amazing thing to appreciate. So how we choose to adapt and live, I think, is how we can kind of really start to define our own meaning and purpose. Darkest Night says, Josh, don't become one of these red pill PUAs trying to push their $500 course to pick up girls. No, Darkest Night, that I have no intention of doing that. The 30-day course that I'm building out is it's mainly just a way that people can kind of start to say, hey, let me get a little organization in my life. I'll look at it similar to like my book, where it's like, hey, my book is broken up into different sections that you can kind of get a little more organizational. I really don't like all the PUA coaches. It's like, I'm going to teach you how to get girls. Like, I think that it's more important if they teach you how to maintain relationships, how to find partners, what to look for in a person. You know, like those are long-term quality things. But don't worry, Darkest Night, I'm not heading on that path. Let's see. N Tizizi Shimateo Matii, butchered that name, I apologize, says, hey Josh, how do you cope with a friend who is so jealous about your success in getting girls? That's a really good question. I think that it's hard because sometimes people are jealous when they see you succeed. They see you succeed because they don't know how to do it themselves. And, you know, for you, it might come easy. Certain things might come easy. You might feel a little more confident than them. I think that it's like ultimately their level of jealousy is something that they have to work through. And for you as a friend, what you can do to help them through that is to share the things that you feel that you are learning, that you're trying out, what's working for you, what's not, and to hear them out, to see what their struggles and their kind of barriers are. Because a lot of times people feel like they have barriers that they put up without actually testing them and exploring them, right? So like someone who's jealous you're talking to girls might say like, oh, when I talk to girls, it never works out, right? But how often do they talk to girls? And when they talk to those girls, what do they say? Like that might be a barrier that they've created that they haven't really tried to address themselves. But chat is a bit of a mess, but it's okay, guys. It's okay because I think we're talking about important stuff here. And as I'm reading through, I think that people are sharing important parts of their lives. Now, like I said, when you are raised in a way where people are dismissing you, get over it, it's not that big of a deal, toughen up, all these things, you start to feel like there's no one you can open up to. And then the second piece is, as you get older, you've already kind of closed those walls off. You can't be emotional with people because no one's going to listen to you. You feel that way. And you start to lash out, and you start to get angry, and you start to be bitter about it, and you start to feel like you're alone in this world. Well, that can then lead to the next step here, which before I get into that though, before I share what kind of the third step that ends up happening is, I want to kind of share a few things with you guys here. Like I said before, we have our Discord community. This is our online community of people that are there for each other. We do voice chats in there. We have a vent board. We have lots of different chat games. It's just an awesome place. So if you're looking for a community, a place where you can talk about what's on your mind and just engage with people, join the Discord community, guys. I think you'll love it. Also, I mentioned my book earlier, and I think that for those of you that know, let me know what you guys think. But for those of you that don't know, I wrote a book called Embracing the Awkward. It's available on Amazon. If you search Embracing the Awkward on Amazon, it'll pop up. In this book, I kind of walk through some of my own personal experiences growing up, the struggles I had, the things I had to deal with in my own life, in my own family, and how I learned to overcome those challenges. Plus, I also kind of break down some of the things I've learned over the years, how to have conversations with people, how to deal with rejection, how to pursue your dreams, how to outline what you want to do in the future. I think the book would be super, super helpful for you, so I definitely recommend for everyone here to check it out. And the third thing I want to bring up here, guys, is this. If you're not already following me over on Instagram, you gotta follow me, guys, because right after this live stream, we're gonna jump into the Instagram after party. What that is I go live over on Instagram and I bring you guys on to video chat. It's kind of like this, but you guys are there chatting with me on video. It's pretty cool, pretty laid back. All of you guys are invited to the after party. It's super exclusive, so I can't wait to see you guys there. Follow me over on Instagram at @thejoshspeaks. So let's move into that third point here, guys. Like I said, you already start to feel now bitter because you have no one to share things with. You start to lash out. Well, then what happens from that? Well, reason number 3 is this. You then start to weaken your ability to empathize. You know, you can spend so much time and spend so long really, really feeling like no one cares about what you have to say. There's no one you can open up to. There's nothing you can do to save yourself from the situation, that you then find it incredibly difficult to empathize with others. Now, when other people come to you with challenges or fears or emotions that they want to share, you end up giving them the same advice you got. Well, just deal with it. I dealt with it and I'm fine. Oh, toughen up, okay? You need to just grow a pair like I did. Be a man, okay? Don't be a wuss, okay? You just need to kind of grow up. You know, we tend to repeat the things that we grew up hearing, and it doesn't mean that it's effective and it doesn't mean that it's helpful, but it's just what we've grown up hearing, and we tend to kind of say that over and over. So we start to lose that ability to empathize and understand and connect with others if we struggle with that our whole lives. If we felt like we didn't get the kindness that we hopefully should have, deserved and gotten, then we're not going to be able to pass that on to others. And this is something you see happen a lot. Guys, this is cyclical. This is something that happens in families. This is something that happens in work environments, in schools, in communities. People start to fall into this trap of, like, I grew up with a hard life, and therefore the things that are scary and hard for you, if I don't think they're hard, I'm going to downplay them. Now, I want to get a chat poll going here, guys. I want to ask you guys. I really want to know what you guys think. Lily Anonymous says, man up, grow a pair like I did. Yeah, imagine saying that to a girl. I think for girls, they say different things. Like, so for men, before I do the chat poll, I want to address Lily's point because I think it's a good one. Girl won't say grow a pair like I did to another girl, but what women may say to girls might be, oh no, don't complain too much. Oh no, don't make a big deal out of it. Oh no, don't overreact. Women are told very often to downplay their feelings entirely, that if you share your opinion, you're being hysterical, you're being too loud, you're being too confrontational, and no one likes a woman like that. That's the negative messaging and reinforcing that happens on the woman's side. For a man, it's like, hey, you're not being man enough. For a woman, it's usually, hey, you're not being womanly enough. And being womanly enough means being shy and timid and reserved and to yourself and not being expressive. So for women, the messaging is different, but it still falls into the same vein. I want to hear what you guys have to say. Just reading through some of your comments here. Ravage says, everybody got time in their hands and now they turn into mischievous people. Super annoying. AP7 says, fair enough. It depends on the context in which you were told to man up too. My dad is a cool dad and helps you when you mess up. He explains things that explain how to man up. Yeah. And here's the thing too, guys. I'm not saying that if someone says like man up, not everyone means it in the exact same way. Sometimes people may say it in a more simple way, like, hey, listen, you're 18 years old. It's time to man up. It's time to get a job. Maybe it's time to move out of the house. So people may mean it in a different context. But I think that the culture that can surround manning up, what does it mean to be a man, can sometimes be problematic. And that can lead to this point, guys, which is this. The culture of masculinity can sometimes be toxic. Now, I know buzzword alert, guys. When people hear toxic masculinity, everyone goes to one side of the room or the other, and that's not a real thing, or, oh, that's a stupid thing. Well, let me kind of break down what I mean when I'm saying toxic masculinity can be harmful to your health. In the vein of everything we're talking about, guys, we're talking about subduing your feelings, not being honest, not sharing with others, not talking about the problems in your life, and how that can lead you to lash out and be violent and be aggressive and be angry because you don't know how to deal with your feelings. You never learned it. You were never taught it. And what ends up happening is as you get older, it then becomes harder for you to connect with others when they are expressing their feelings and when they are trying to tell you what they think and when they are trying to let you know what's going on in their life. And what ends up happening is we develop that level of toxicity in our masculinity. We start to feel like, oh, you just can't share how you feel. It's just not something that you do. And that can be incredibly harmful, because here's what tends to happen, guys. There are so many men that don't go to the doctor because they just feel, get over it. It's not that big of a deal. I feel something weird on my chest. Not that big of a deal. Oh, you know what? I've been coughing a lot. I'm not even going to worry about it. I'm just going to man up and deal with it. There are so many men that develop health problems, that have injuries that don't get taken care of, that develop mental health issues, physical health issues, all under the guise of not wanting to be less of a man because you can't handle the pain, or you can't handle the hardships, or you can't handle the struggle. There's this toxic culture that surrounds us where it encourages men to not think about taking care of themselves. So when I talk about toxic masculinity, I'm talking about that level of toxicity. That level where you don't value yourself enough to take care of yourself. Where you feel like you're weak, or you're bad, or you're less than if you actually do. And I see that happen a lot. I see that develop a lot. Darkest Night says, men's rights activists. I think that the MRA group do bring up a lot of these points, that men do struggle with a lot of mental health issues. Men do struggle with a lot of psychological issues and developmental issues and physical issues, finding a sense of being, a sense of worth, a sense of purpose. And a large part of that is this toxic masculinity culture that develops, where we're not supposed to explore our feelings. We're not supposed to think deeply and share how we feel. The idea of going to a therapist, to a lot of men, still is seen as like a pansy or a weak thing to do. This is where we are in society still. It's gotten better, definitely. Over the years, it's gotten better, but we still are there. I mean, for all of you guys, think about the adults in your life. Think about the adult men. I know there are so many good guys out there, so many good fathers and uncles and brothers and all these things that are good people, that they do care about themselves. They do care about hearing you out. But there's also a large swath of people that don't, that really do take this kind of stoic, nothing gets to me, nothing bothers me. And I think they're creating another cultural round of that happening. And it's a major, major problem, guys. So, we look at kind of these terms, we look at these words, and we think they're not that big of a deal. But as I said, throughout your development, they are. Starting from when you're young, you start to see it where, hey, when I share something, no one listens. And then when you're in your teenage years, I have no one to talk to. I'm going to lash out and get into fights at school or get into trouble. And then when you're an adult, it's, I can't connect with my kids. I can't connect with that person because I don't want to be vulnerable. I don't know what that means to kind of hear someone out and express your emotions. That makes me feel weird. And then you move into your older stage of life where maybe you develop health problems or health issues and you don't take it seriously because you feel like that's not what men do. So I want us to rethink what this idea is to take care of yourself and these phrases that we hear, guys. I want to jump into the chat because I really want to hear what you guys have to say. I think that you guys have a lot of interesting perspectives and I want to hear what you guys have to say. Let's see. AP7 says, Darkest Night could be a family member, friend, teacher. Maybe I missed the first part of that. Darkest Night says, I didn't have that. I had a blue-pilled simp, beta buck's dad. He only cares for his work, then spoiled me to keep me quiet and raised me with spoiling me. So Darkest Night, I'm sorry to hear that happen, man. It sounds to me like you may not have had the closest relationship with your father, and he may not have taken a lot of time to really be understanding of you and your perspective and where you're coming from. And sometimes that's hard for fathers. Sometimes it's hard for parents in general to connect with their kids. And I'm trying to help. I'm also planning in the future to write a book that's going to be for teenagers and parents to how they can communicate better. Because I think that's a major problem that we really, really struggle with today. Tris Play says, other words are just their opinions. You don't need to listen to them if you don't believe in their opinion. No one can change your opinions and belief. Only you can. Absolutely, Tris. I think that, people can say what they want, but it doesn't have to control how you think. Part of the problem, though, is that it's like you have to develop that resilience as you get older because a lot of people do care very deeply about what others think. A lot of people do think that other people's opinions should shape how they live because they don't feel a sense of worth and value for themselves. Let's see. Melvin says, why is our society evolving to make women be more independent and leaves their historical gender roles, but men cannot talk about their feelings? So Melvin, I think that what you are seeing is a shift where women are becoming more independent, women are taking more control of their lives, women are more outspoken, and men are also breaking out of these historical gender roles of, like steady and not sharing your feelings. Men are sharing their feelings. Melvin, what I would recommend is, I'm going to type in the chat here for you. There's a movie, a documentary. Hold on. God, every time I try to type while I'm talking, it doesn't work. Did I spell that correctly? Melvin, there's an organization called the Representation Project, and they have 2 films. One is called The Mask You Live In, and the other one's called Misrepresentation. MISS representation. I would say check out both of those films because they dive deep into a lot of the historical gender roles and social norms that have been breaking down over time, but that still exists, and that they still exist in our media and on our families and in our social environments, and how there are different people and organizations and groups, and a lot of people really trying to help us break out of that, to stop following this mold that doesn't allow us to truly be ourselves. Lily says, I think if you guys find someone that is genuinely, if you guys find someone that genuinely cares about you and is close to you, you should definitely try to talk to her or him. It can make you feel a lot better. Absolutely, Lily. It is so crucial and important to have people you can open up to and share things with in your life. It is one of the most important things. Sam Leach says, I never really fitted into the typical male stereotype, and I don't think I ever will. I recently found out that I may have Aspergers, so that probably contributes. Hasn't helped the damage, though. Sam, I hear where you're coming from on that. I hear where you're coming from on that. Yeah, I think that if you have Asperger's, it can definitely affect how you connect with kind of these traditional male roles, this masculinity concept. Because for you, it may be harder to understand certain kind of norms, or, okay, this is what guys do, like it may be harder for you to connect to those things. So I understand where you're coming from there. I think that a lot of people don't feel like they live up to the standard of, I'm a man, I'm a guy, and this and that. And I talked about that in my last video too, where it's like guys, young people feel this desire to, like, I have to put on a lot of mass, take protein powder, steroids, other substance abuse, and they do these things because they want to get bigger, and they feel this desire to get bigger. And a lot of times it can become an obsession, and it's a real problem. Dave Video Studio says, hey Josh, have you seen the documentary The Mask You Live In? It sounds like masculine. Wow, I didn't even think about that. The Mask You Live In, masculine. Yeah, that's really cool. Yeah, I would highly recommend The Mask You Live In. I think it's an amazing documentary. Alex Burns says, violence is not the answer, and it's 100% true. Natalie J says, good question, Melvin. I also do not think that the modern woman stereotype is becoming a good example. Watch the American Super Bowl show for the halftime. The modern woman stereotype is becoming a good example. What exactly do you mean by the modern woman stereotype? Would you consider like entertainment to be the modern woman stereotype? I would consider the modern woman stereotype, what women should aspire to be, is to first feel a sense of confidence in themselves, to recognize that they're capable of the things they want to do, to get over the hurdle, because this tends to happen with young girls more than young boys, to get over the hurdle, to feel like their voice matters in a sea of people that are loud, right? So in the adolescent stage, when kids are growing up, boys are a lot more rambunctious, a lot more vocal, a lot louder, a lot more physical jumping around, and girls tend to observe more subdued behavior, more quietness. There's a fear of saying something and getting it wrong, or like speaking out of turn. So I think for girls, the modern woman should kind of start to be taught that, hey, I don't have to kind of hide who I am and be afraid to share that. I can share that if I want to share that. I think that's the modern woman stereotype we should be heading towards. Niall Hughes says, every time there's something wrong with me, I feel too confined by that gender stereotype to talk to anyone in fear of judgment. Niall, I hear where you're coming from on that. I think that gender stereotypes can really make us feel like we're in a box. They can make us feel like we're not living up to what we should be living up to. And it's a real problem. And the reason why it's a real problem is because it doesn't give us the capability to explore without people judging us or making fun of us or belittling us. And it's so incredibly important to explore things for yourself, because as you explore things, it's like, hey, maybe I want to wear a pink t-shirt. Maybe I want to grow my hair long. Maybe I want to paint my nails, whatever. Maybe I want to participate in ballet. I'm like, what's the word? Ballet. Might want to explore things that may be out of the traditional male norm. And it's important because it's really going to allow you to discover who you are. I know there's a real fear there, a real fear that guys will make fun of you and judge you and tease you, but I can really assure you that the more you discover about yourself, the more in alignment you live, the easier and better life is going to end up being. But I also want to share this, guys, and that's this. We're talking about how to overcome these things, and really, what does it mean to be masculine? What does it mean to be a male? What does it mean to be your best self? Well, I would say it's this, guys. And this doesn't only extend to guys. This extends to women as well. But for this video, I'm kind of diving more into masculinity. And when I really, really think about this, guys, when I think, what does it mean to be tough? What does it mean to be, what does it mean to really be tough? When people say toughen up, they mean stop dealing with it. But to me, tough means this. To be tough means to be a leader, to be a protector, an innovator, an inspirer, a motivator, caretaker, friend, family member, teacher. There are so many ways to be tough in this world. And to be tough is not to just ignore what's going on. Toughness and independence are qualities that develop when a person feels safe and loved. You're only going to develop a sense of toughness for this world if you feel like there's a safe environment for you as you're growing up. We expect people to just be tough, just deal with it, and it's not how life works. We need to kind of feel safe first before we can explore and try things. There are a lot of curveballs that are thrown your way and hardships that you're going to endure. And I think being tough is knowing how to manage those feelings in a way that will enhance the quality of your life. Not in trying to be the manliest men, but to be your best self. Whatever that may look like for you. Guys, I really want you kind of to take in the things that we talked about in this live stream. I'm going to do a quick recap of the points, but I really think it's important for us to think deeply about what does it mean for ourselves to kind of be honest and open and real, and to recognize that, yes, we may not have the best support system. Maybe our parents aren't that helpful, or maybe our friends make fun of us, but it's important to find people who care about you and are willing to help you. And that might mean reaching out to a therapist or a community or creating a group in your school. It's important to surround yourself with people that want to see you succeed. So I want to walk through these points again, guys, and let's do that now. Before I get to our mindful moment. We talked in the very beginning, guys. I was talking about the worst advice a guy can ever get when he's stressed. When you're dealing with a lot, when you're nervous or you're scared, hearing phrases like this, toughen up, deal with it, be a man, get over it, don't be a wuss. Hearing phrases like that is going to make you feel like you can't open up, you can't share things, you can't be honest. And parents say these things all the time. Friends say these things. Teachers, people in your life say these things thinking they're being helpful. But really, they're just actually making you be more and more closed off. And the reason for that is that your feelings often end up getting minimized. When someone tells you to just shrug it off and stop complaining, stop whining, you feel like how you feel doesn't matter. No one cares about how you feel. It's not important. Maybe you're over-exaggerating. Maybe you're making it up. Maybe you're a drama queen. You start to question yourself. And you're never taught the skills of how to manage those feelings. Instead, you kind of start to subdue them and start to feel like it's impossible. But I want you guys to really remember that feelings are mentionable and manageable. What you're thinking, what you're feeling, what you're going through are all things worth talking about. They're all worth sharing. And you are not those feelings that you're experiencing. So if you are hurt, if you're insecure, if you're feeling bullied, if you're feeling detached from others, take a step back and observe them from the outside and realize I am not my feelings. I may feel a certain way and I can observe that. And once I observe it, I can potentially do something about it. And that can lead to reason number 2, guys. You start to bury your feelings and act out. Oh, church bells are going off. People bury their feelings all the time because they feel like there's no one that cares about what they have to say. No one understands them. And because of that, when you're hurt and angry, maybe you'll go to your room and you won't tell anyone. And You might even act out. Maybe you get into a fight at school, or you curse out your best friend, or you yell at your parents, or break something, or throw something. We sometimes turn to these actions when we just don't know how to deal with our feelings. So having a solid way to deal with your feelings means talking to people you can trust and you can open up to. Building resilience. Resilience is built through learning how to cope. If you can start to figure out how you can manage how you feel, how you can be aware of how you feel, you'll start to be more resilient. You'll start to find your own strategies for being able to deal with the challenges and struggles that you live with. Darkest Night says, notice how there's a chat on the cover for those words, the black pill is everywhere. Oh, Darkest Night. I just picked a picture of a person that I thought had kind of that expression on their face. That kind of was more this kind of like solemn expression. But Darkest Night, I featured all kinds of people on my thumbnails. You just got to check them out and see. But yeah, building that resilience, guys, is how you're going to ultimately learn to not allow other people's decisions or other people's choices for you to control your life. And if you live your whole life dealing with that, it can lead to reason number 3. You weaken your ability to empathize. You've spent so long and so many years not being able to process your feelings, to share your feelings, to talk about what's on your mind, that when someone comes to you with their feelings, you don't know how to help them. You don't know what to say. You don't know what to do. So it can definitely affect how we help others, how we treat others. And the cycle just continues, right? You'll have kids and then you do the same thing to them. You tell them to be a man, to suck it up, to grow up, and the cycle continues. And we have to break that cycle, because if we don't break that cycle, this level of toxic masculinity that develops is going to harm our health, guys. It's going to cause us to feel like, when I'm sick, when I'm hurt, when my mental health is suffering, why would I share that? Men don't share that. Guys don't talk about their feelings. Guys don't express themselves. That's a weak thing to do. And we begin to really believe this stuff. We really begin to believe that that's actually true. And it can lead to it leads to a lot of men not getting doctor exams, not checking their health, not taking care of themselves, not getting enough sleep, or eating healthy, or like being good parents in some cases. So what I ultimately want you guys to instead do is focus on this. When you hear someone using this terminology, be a man, toughen up, reframe what they're saying and realize this person is in a place where they may not realize that their words are hurtful, but I realize it. And instead, I'm going to aim to be a leader. I'm going to protect others. I'm going to innovate and inspire. I want to motivate, be a caretaker. I want to take time to listen to other people. I want to be a teacher, a friend, and a family member. I want to be there for other people and give them the space that maybe I didn't have growing up in sharing my feelings. Guys, this was a very, very important topic I really wanted to cover. And the video I did on Tuesday and this live stream, I think, really dives deeper into those points. Like I said before, if you haven't already, hit the thumbs up button on this. If you've felt that this has been helpful and informative, we're going to lead into our mindful moment, guys. And with our mindful moment, what I love to do is bring up the bell, and we will listen to the sound of the bell. And when I want each and every single one of you watching, you right now, you watching, I want you to close your eyes. We're going to close our eyes together. And I want us to kind of take a deep breath. And as we do that, guys, as we take a deep breath and close our eyes, I want you to think about the value that you bring to this world. Now, you might be feeling, I don't bring any value. I don't do anything special. I don't matter. But just you existing, just you being you brings value. Because with every experience you have in life, with every moment you live, you're learning and you're growing. And every interaction you have, you share that with the people around you. So I want you to think deeply about the value that you bring. When someone tells you to toughen up or be a man, recognize that they're in their own sense struggling. And you're someone that's going to get through this. I believe in you. I want you to think about your value. Let's close our eyes and do that right now, guys. Thank you guys so much for being a part of this live stream. I hope you found it super helpful. If you're not already following me over on Instagram, make sure to go follow me over on Instagram for the Instagram after party. It's happening right now, right after this live stream. If you're catching a replay of this, check out the links to the videos over there on the side. They're going to kind of dive deeper into this idea of masculinity, and hopefully the things I can share can be helpful for you in feeling confident and comfortable with who you are. Thank you again. Thank you everyone for being a part of the live stream, and I'll catch you next time. As always, love and peace. I'll see you guys then. Bye.